Welcome back to This Week, That Year, the show where we travel back in time to uncover the births, deaths, and defining moments that happened this very week throughout history. We're covering May 31st all the way to June 6th. From battlefields to recording studios, from the cradle to the grave, it's all here. Let's get started. Think you know your American history? This one reshaped how the nation thought about infrastructure and corporate responsibility. 5 seconds on the clock. The Johnstown Flood. On May 31, 1889, the South Fork Dam collapsed after days of heavy rain, sending a wall of water 40 feet high crashing through the city of Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Over 2,200 people perished in mere minutes. It remains one of the deadliest disasters in U.S. history, and it sparked the early beginnings of the American Red Cross response effort. He changed poetry forever. Born this very day in 1819. Do you know him? Countdown begins. Walt Whitman, the great American bard, was born on May 31, 1819, in Long Island, New York. He left school at 14, worked as a journalist, carpenter, and nurse, and somewhere in between, he wrote Leaves of Grass, one of the most celebrated poetry collections in the English language. His sweeping, sensory verse broke every convention of his time. He was called Papa, not just as a nickname, but because he was truly the father of an entire musical form. He died on May 31, 1809. Who is he? Clock is ticking. Franz Joseph Haydn. The Austrian master passed away on May 31, 1809, in Vienna. He composed over 100 symphonies and was the teacher of Beethoven and Mozart's close friend. When he died, Napoleon, who was besieging Vienna at the time, posted an honor guard outside Haydn's house out of respect. This album dropped on June 1, 1967. It's been called a masterpiece so many times, the word barely does it justice. 5 seconds. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The Beatles' 8th studio album was released on June 1, 1967, and it rewrote the rules of what popular music could be. With tracks like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and A Day in the Life, it ushered in the psychedelic era and spent 27 weeks at #1 in the UK. A revolution in sound, art, and culture, all on one record. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You probably know who we're talking about. Born June 3, 1926. Timer starts now. Muhammad Ali. Born Cassius Clay on June 3, 1926, in Louisville, Kentucky. Ali became not just the world's greatest boxer, but one of the most recognizable and impactful figures of the 20th century. His refusal to be drafted for Vietnam cost him his title, but he stood firm, and the Supreme Court eventually ruled in his favor. 3 heavyweight titles, countless moments of brilliance, one legend. This is one of the defining images of the 20th century, a lone protester, a line of tanks. What was the square? 5 seconds. Tiananmen Square. On June 4, 1989, Chinese government forces moved on thousands of pro-democracy demonstrators who had been camped there for weeks. The crackdown was brutal. Estimates of the death toll range from hundreds to thousands. The image of a lone man blocking a column of tanks became an enduring symbol of resistance and remains one of the most censored images in China to this day. Before the Model T, before the assembly line, there was a man in a shed with a dream and an engine. Who was he? June 4, 1896. Henry Ford. On June 4, 1896, Ford test drove his quadricycle, a rudimentary four-wheeled vehicle powered by a small gasoline engine through the streets of Detroit at 2 in the morning. It had no reverse gear and no brakes. But it was a start. Within a decade, Ford would transform not just transportation, but the entire idea of modern manufacturing.
A mind ahead of his time, born on June 5, 1820. He championed women's rights in the British Parliament over 150 years ago. Who was he?
John Stuart Mill. Born on June 5, 1820, Mill was one of the most influential thinkers of the 19th century. His work on liberty, utilitarianism, and individual rights laid foundations that still underpin modern democracy. In 1866, he became the first member of the British Parliament to formally propose giving women the right to vote. Visionary doesn't even begin to cover it. Just weeks after Martin Luther King Jr. was killed, America suffered another devastating assassination. June 5, 1968. Who was shot that night?
Robert F. Kennedy. Just minutes after winning the California Democratic primary, RFK was shot in the kitchen of the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles on June 5, 1968. He died the following day. He was 42. His death shattered a nation already reeling from grief, and it marked the end of a hopeful chapter in American politics. The year 1968 remains one of the darkest in modern history.
June 6, 1944, the day that changed the course of World War II and the world. What was it called? D-Day, Operation Overlord. On June 6, 1944, over 156,000 Allied troops from the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and other nations stormed 5 beaches along the Normandy coast of France. It was the largest amphibious military operation in history. The invasion marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. Thousands gave their lives that day. The world changed forever on those beaches. Born June 6, 1956, this Swedish tennis superstar won 5 consecutive Wimbledon titles and 11 Grand Slams total. He retired at just 26. Who is he? Bjorn Borg, the Swedish tennis icon, was born on June 6, 1956. He dominated the sport in the late 1970s and early 1980s, winning 5 straight Wimbledon championships and 6 French Opens. His rivalry with John McEnroe produced some of the greatest matches ever played, none more iconic than the 1980 Wimbledon final. He walked away at 26 at the very peak of his powers, a legend on his own birthday week. And that's a wrap on This Week That Year, May 31st to June 6th. From the Johnstown Flood to D-Day, from Walt Whitman to Muhammad Ali, from the Beatles to Bjorn Borg, every single week in history is packed with stories that shaped our world. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop in the comments which fact surprised you the most. We'll see you same time next week. History never gets old.
For more such trivias, go to trivia.com, the ultimate trivia site for any topics under the sun.